Thank you, Hayden. Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join our session today. We've prepared some slides in terms of, thank you for the intro, Hayden, in regards to myself and Gilfie. That's our team today. So in terms of just giving you some comfort on who TTS are, for those of you that have never heard of us, we are a very well-established training and technology company in and around the transformation ERP space, and we've been serving about 500 corporate clients over the last 20 years with over 5 million users of our technology across their entire enterprise. Moving on, today what we'll talk about is, of course, Oracle are sunsetting UPK, and for the most part I think it's fair to say that the technology is redundant, it's old-fashioned and out of date. And what we want to do today is just give you an introduction and give you a real alternative in terms of where you guys can transition to a more modern, up-to-date system. So what we'll be presenting a little bit later on is TT Performance Suite. And you'll see in the infographic here is that we are a technology that provides you with a full supply chain of curation of content, the production, and the usage in terms of a push and pull technology. And again, it caters for all the modalities in terms of what a modern business and a modern learner require for both traditional blended content, integration with your preferred LMS, and this notion of performance support as well. In terms of how this hangs together, as I mentioned earlier on, we've got the production side of things. So we have the document editor, similar to what you've been used to at UPK. We have the curation. So a little bit later on, we'll show you examples of how we would produce content within TTPS, but also how we could aggregate, curate, and rehydrate existing content, catering for all those modalities that we mentioned earlier on. And then the intervention of what we call our quick access technology. So this pull, self-service on-demand performance support element to that. There's other channels where you can actually get the content, i.e. our web publisher portal. So just some highlights in terms of some of the key features that we address. Clearly, I won't go through these in too much detail, but I think in summary, mobile, single sourcing, single source of truth, curation, aggregation of content are the key things that you should be considering and looking into whilst you go through this process. Okay, so any questions before I hand over to Gilfie?
We have had one come through already. The question reads, am I able to import existing UPK content?
Yes, absolutely. So I won't answer in too much detail because I'll let Gilfie actually illustrate how that's done within the presentation or demo a little bit later on. But yes, so we can help the organisation or your organisation transition over and manage that change in terms of rehydrating meaningful content, not all of it, we would advocate, but yeah, we're using relevant content within our platform, absolutely. Thank you. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'll now hand you over to Gilfie, and he'll walk you through the product from an end user perspective.
Wonderful, thank you, Webin. So as Webin mentioned, I'm going to start the demonstration from an end user perspective. And one of the key things that I'll demonstrate at this point is in line with the question that was just asked on how existing content can be imported into our system and rehydrated and made context sensitive and very useful and usable for the end user in a moment of need. So the way that users would access any of this content is primarily through our quick access tool, which sits in the system tray of the user computers. And whenever they open quick access, it will recognize what application they're in. In this example, it shows that I'm on the Windows 7 desktop. And within here, it will give me the help content that's relevant to that particular screen. So in this example here, you can see that there's some content, and this was actually created inside UPK. And all of these different outputs that have been produced by UPK have been rehydrated here and made context sensitive. So it knows that each one of these different outputs, see it, do it, know it, try it, all of these outputs are now keyed precisely to this application of the Windows 7 desktop. So if I want to view any of this content, I can just click on the link of the particular output that I want to view. And this will then render the content that I've requested. In the case, it's a see it mode. So this then renders inside Internet Explorer as it comes up. And it would then play through, and it's exactly the same content that you would access through UPK. So this will now play the see it mode all the way through here. If I want to view other modalities, such as do it, I can click on that, and again, it will render on the side of my screen here to tell me how to go through this particular content. So here you can see the do it mode is being rendered, and I can just click through this as required. So this demonstrates how all of the UPK created content can be refreshed and rehydrated inside our system and put in a context sensitive manner. However, going forwards and creating new content for any of your software, what you can see here is exactly the same process that's been carried out on how to change the theme on my Windows 7 desktop. But I've created this inside TT Performance Suite, which is our authoring platform. So here you can see that I've created the same content, but all of those different outputs that you saw before are also available from our platform. So for example, our step-by-step guide here is equivalent to the do it mode from UPK. And when I click on this, it renders inside my quick access sidebar inside here, so that a user doesn't have to actually click through every single step in the guidance. Because if, for example, they're just stuck on step 3 of this process, then I can just scroll down directly to that particular step that I'm stuck on and view the task that I need to carry out in order to continue on through my process. If I don't know where on the screen I need to click with the picture, then I can hover over the icon and it will show me a short animation highlighting where on the screen it is that I need to click. So this is at a very low detailed level of just exactly the tasks that you need to carry out in order to get through a process. If I want to, I can go into slightly more detail and view some documentation, for example. So this will now open up a PDF with all of my help content. You can see that although it's still carrying out the step-by-step tasks inside here, there's extra conceptual information around what it is that I'm carrying out. So this is a slightly higher level of detail that's available for the end users. Finally, if I want to view a full e-learning, I can do that as well. So this e-learning that's created, this full simulation, is also available in the see it, know it, and try it modes that you would be familiar with from UPK. In our terminology, we refer to these as interactive presentation and film modes. So by default, we are currently in an interactive mode here. And you can see that I have an instruction on the screen to right-click on the TTS logo. And if I'm clicking in the wrong location, then it will highlight where on the screen I need to click. So I can now continue on, and this is fully interactive. So everything that I did during my recording, I have to do here inside my simulation. If I'm particularly stuck, I can go to a presentation mode where I can just click on the next button and it will play through it for me. And if I want to, I can also change over to a film mode, where this is just going to play through like a video without any interactions from me in order to continue on through this task. So this shows how very simple it is in order to access all of your different types of content, where you don't have multiple links for the same thing, such as see it, know it, and try it. They're all 3 different flavors of the same e-learning simulation. Instead, for us, we have one single link, and the user is able to change between what modes they want to use as and when they require it. Are there any questions on the end user side of the platform at the moment?
There doesn't seem to be any questions at the moment, but I will make everyone aware who is attending. And if there is something that you want to ask in a more directional way to Wybin or Gylfi, you can just email them directly to ask those questions, because I know some of these questions might be sensitive or bespoke to their organisations as well. But there isn't any as of now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hayden. So what I'll quickly demonstrate to you now is how we're able to actually create this content that you've just seen. So all of that step-by-step guidance, the e-learning, the documentation. I'll show how that's created directly inside an Oracle platform. So here I'm utilizing Oracle's Field Service Cloud. And what I'm going to do is create a recording of this system, and it's just going to be a very simple one showing how to add an activity to a particular employee here. So in order to do this, I can open up my document editor, and you can see here that this has been designed to look very much like the Microsoft Office suite of products. And we've chosen to model our application in that way because most authors creating content are very familiar with that particular suite. And so it makes the learning curve for people to get up to speed and start creating rich content much, much faster for everyone. So if I want to do a recording, what I can do is just click on my Start Recording button. I can choose the application that I want to capture, in this case, Oracle Field Service Cloud. Click on OK. It will then resize this application to fit the resolution that I'm doing a recording in. And now I can just go through and carry out the tasks that I need to do. So for example, here, I could click on the View tab. So now I can see any resources that are inside here if required. Next, what I'm able to do is open up this menu button, and I want to add an activity inside here to this user, William Arndt. So I can add a new activity. I can set the time. So this is going to be a 30-minute lunch break, and I can just click on Submit. And this has now been saved to the user profile. So now I've carried out the full task that I needed to do. I can just click on the Stop button, and this will return me to my document editor, where you can see that every click that I've done has been recorded as a new step inside here. So you'll see that it's recognized all the titles of the buttons that I've clicked on. And what you'll also see here is that it's picked up the full name, what type of button it is. So for example, here's a text field. So all of that's been automatically captured. So I have my e-learning created now, which is available in all of those modes straight away, the interactive, presentation, and film modes. Those are created out of the box. Similarly, over here, I have my documentation that's also been created. So this is also done without any extra interventions by the author. And finally, I have my step-by-step guide that's also created here. So you can see that these screenshots are now automatically cropped to be optimized for the quick access performance support solution. So having created all of my content, I can just save this and upload it back to my document management area. And as this is uploading, what it's going to do is actually create all of these different outputs that I've looked at. So if I decide later on that I don't want to have the documentation published, for example, I can just go back into my document editor and remove that. And then when I publish the document again, it will only leave those outputs which are chosen to be used for the end user. So once this is uploaded, it will be available straight away when I go to that particular application. Because when I carry out a recording, it recognizes what application it is that I'm working on, and it adds that context in automatically. So you can see that this is now published with all of these different outputs I made available. And what you can see inside here, if I set the context to be Field Service Cloud here and click on OK, I can now go to my application here I can open up my quick access. And you'll see that this is recognized that I'm in Field Service Cloud, and it's got this document that I've created with all of those 3 different helpers that I've chosen to publish. So straight away, I can see my step-by-step guide that's being created inside here. I can go through, I can look at my documentation, which will open it up in Acrobat. And I also have my full e-learning all published in the interactive presentation and film modes. So with very little effort, all of these outputs are created straight away without any additional manual interventions by the author. Okay. Are there any questions on the content creation side of this demonstration here? Hopefully you can see how this is a significant benefit over UPK currently.
Right, Hayden, any questions that have come through?
We don't seem to have any questions as it stands. I'll just wait 30 seconds. As I stated previously, this webinar has been recorded. So if there's anything that you want to, if you do rewatch it and if there's any questions that come to mind, you can get in contact with either Wybin or Gylfi directly. I will send an email out, including the recording and both of their email addresses if you wanted to get in contact too. As you can see, Wybin is already on the screen there for you now. As of now,
exactly. Thank you, Hayden.
So,
I think a couple of things from my side. Yeah. So to summarise Gylfi's presentation, I mean, what you'll see is a very, very efficient way of creating content, including workflows, versioning, and promoting subject matter experts to capture those processes. And as a result of that, you're centralising that management of content creation and a single source of truth, and then being able to publish that in multiple modalities and outputs, as you've seen, very, very quickly. Beyond that, of course, we capture beyond your Oracle estate or landscape, so we have a universal recorder there. But hopefully that's giving you a good flavour in terms of how efficient our technology can be. In addition to that, we are offering 3 one-hour consultancies to the attendees today. If you want to go offline and have a more one-to-one session with us, and where we can actually show you best practice and how other clients have transitioned away from UPK. So that's an open offer, and you can contact me directly with the details on the screen now. Over to you, Hayden. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for presenting to us all today, Gylfi and Wybin. We really, really do appreciate it. And thank you all for those who have attended and take their time out today to attend today's webinar as well. I will be in contact very shortly, but for now, thank you all very, very much. And we'll hope to see you all soon. Anything else you wanted to say, guys?
No, thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye.